Welcome to Deleted Saves. On this episode, Demon's Souls Remake on PS5. Alright, dear listeners, it's time to go back to the Souls Well and see what indescribable horrors we can dig up, despite us already being dead and under normal circumstances, already the worst thing in the room. Today's title is a remake of a game I was first introduced to in 2010 and then promptly forgot all about, but I won't hold that against it. Let's get into it with 2020's Demon's Souls Remake. Well, as longtime listeners know, or so does anyone who browses my show backlog on podcast platforms can discover, I've talked a number of Dark Souls or Souls adjacent games pretty much to death by this point. It's not really anything informative, as you may believe going back to the story well here, as progress of these games is pretty much the same. You are killed in the first few minutes of the game, come back from the dead in the fantasy world du jour, and have to slay your way to the top of the proverbial food chain until you are king shit atop Turd Mountain, and die a lot along the way in seemingly unfair ways. But that's not really why fans of these games play them. It's more for the exploration, plumbing the depths of whatever world the crew at FromSoft has crafted for us, scouring half-revealed lore to better understand the depth of just how bad things got before everything collapsed, and the chance to get involved in cooperative play without having to communicate via headset or hear from screaming, racist invective-filled 12-year-olds or sexual deviants waving the flag of the gamers TM, decrying unplayable physics because they feel the shadow on the overwhelming cleavage on the female cartoon models is incorrect for their jerking off fantasies. Ugh, I don't know how you multiplayer folks do it. And of course, players come for the challenge and beating difficult sections of the game with grit and determination, each section being difficult and different for each player. Of course, for players who don't like this style of game, this is just an unscalable wall of confusing lore, too much work for their fun time, and an unwelcoming community of the very same shit stains of humanity I just described. So there's really no winning here for casual enjoyers like myself. Anyway, here we are again. How is Demon's Souls different from its family members in this rather close-knit and claustrophobic subgenre? Um, it's not. In fact, I'm putting it out there that this was the progenitor game before the formula was codified and redefined in the 2011 Dark Souls release. So it is not at all different. It was the thing that started it all. You, as the player, begin as we so often do in these games by building a character whose face you shall never see again once it is under a helmet and turn to beef jerky post-terminal episode of misadventure at the claws and tentacles of some sort of slime-coated nasty. So really, it is more about picking your character class, such as knight, thief, wizard, barrel maker, clown, weirdo, or gravedigger, that is going to affect your starting stats and gear more than anything. If you've never played before, I'll let you guess which of those classes is real. This is a game that attempts to ape Western fantasy tropes, so very much a look at the books by Tolkien, Howard, Moorcock, and the like, as seen through the eyes of Japanese culture, for whom those sorts of dirty sword and sorcery fantasy stories were not really part of their cultural worldview. And honestly, were it not for Kentaro Miura, I'm probably mispronouncing that, so I apologize, author and creator of Berserk, who was obviously a huge fan of that style of writing, we would likely never have these games, as Hidetaka Miyazaki is obviously such a huge fan of Maria's work that he just had to translate it into a game. I'm not saying anything bad there. I am grateful to Maria-san for his work. May he rest in peace. And again, if I've mispronounced your name, please don't haunt me. I won't be covering the gameplay loop, as it is pretty much the same as others I've covered. You hunker down behind a shield, trade blows with the enemy until success or failure, Find your own battle rhythm between sword and shield, speed or magic, and keep thumping along through ambush after ambush until you're able to kill a big boss. Dying is punitive, and the game autosaves every few minutes, so progress or regression carries a lot of weight, and you lose and gain a lot. So, yep, you wander into the land of Boletaria, our playland for this game, seeking treasure, opportunity, or answers to why the mysterious deep fog has enveloped this land, and what the creatures that have been seen within it are doing, and how to stop it before it envelops surrounding lands. You enter, and are almost immediately wowed by the sheer scale of decadent beauty this world has been going on through, and has just been rotted by the deep fog and the creatures within. You are also almost immediately attacked by the undead, hordes of former adventurers who came, like you, to Boletaria, but died and were resurrected, along with the kingdom's former defenders and citizens. All of this is the influence of the Old One, a greater demon who was lulled to sleep centuries ago by another hero, and who is trapped underneath the castle at the center of the kingdom, and who was released because of the effort of the previous lord of the land, King Allant, who sought power and immortality. Trying to fight your way through the horde, you may, should you be skilled or lucky enough, make your way to a butcher demon, who is the first roadblock of the game. Most likely, if the horde does not kill you, this thing that looks like it tried to restart its celebrity career after only being remembered as the statue on the cover of the original first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook will be the thing that kills you. And if it somehow doesn't, you will be killed in the very next cutscene by a demonic dragon, because you need to be dead to continue forward. There is no living run option for this title. From there you awake as a ghost within the Nexus, a clearinghouse for the spirits of those killed by the demons of Boletaria, who will try to help you along the way, should you not kill them first. And yes, you can attack and kill the NPCs you meet in this game, like you can throughout the series. Your first help is the Maiden in Black, whose eyes are covered with a thick layer of wax, who will give you cryptic clues to begin and allow you to level up through transference of the demon's souls that you've collected, therefore title drop, into your power. Souls are also currency, and the dead trade them for weapons, gear repairs, magic, and power. You will heal a bit differently than you do in the Dark Souls games, where there you get a refillable flask of Tang. Instead, you will have to scrounge for grasses to eat. So in this universe, lemongrass is the best healing. Seriously, your undead ass will be stuffing lawn clippings into their mouth to recover health as you progress, like some sort of vegan Eric Draven. From here, this Nexus is a hub world, where you'll explore 6 worlds, each with roughly 3 zones each zone ruled by some sort of demonic boss that you will have to kill and recover the soul from to allow access to the final zone, where you'll need to put the old one back to sleep. The bosses are all deeply tied to the world lore, which with some investigation, recovery, and reading of item descriptions and goodies will make sense. But if you don't do this, they are a random collection of awesome names and weird lethal abilities that make no sense. And with success, exploration of mines, bogs, forts, extra-dimensional prisons, deep poison pits, rainlands, and other wonderfully realized but somewhat disjointed dark fantasy combat arenas, you will finally ascend to the castle, uncover the plot of King Allant, and descend to the depths beneath the castle where you will battle the Old One, who looks like a spawn of Shub-Niggurath come to digital life. Look, for as many times as I've referenced Lovecraft on this show, look that one up on your own. I'm tired of doing the legwork for you. And you will beat this thing into submission, effectively putting it back to sleep, once again, with the Maiden in Black's help, and the land of Boletaria will be saved in the most broad of terms. This is, if you choose to, and become the new Nexus Guardian. If you choose to kill the Maiden instead, you will become the new big bad demon to rule the world with an iron tentacle. And that really is pretty much the story in a nutshell. It's not really satisfying when you put it like that, is it? Well, yeah, kind of. But taken into perspective, this was Miyazaki and Company's first stab at the dark fantasy story. So they really kind of light on the meta plot here, and I think is probably what got the original game sort of left behind to the PS3 when it debuted in 2009. An odd duck of a game with a reputation for punishing difficulty that would get another shot at life under a similar title on the Xbox 360, where it would do amazingly. So really, why am I highlighting the remake? If this game is a one-for-one shot of the original, why not showcase that instead? To put it in simplest terms, I didn't really experience the game until 2020. I did play it for an hour in 2010, but how I played it was a little unusual. At the time, I was visiting family in another state, and a younger cousin of mine wanted to show this game off to me. I didn't own a PS3, but he was really enjoying the Demon's Souls game and wanted to share with his older brother, who was not interested in video games. So I got to be the one to be shown instead. I played it for an hour. It was okay. It wasn't life-altering or earth-shattering. It just seemed like an old-school NES hard game with updated graphics. I died several times and I kind of got bored. Eventually, I had to leave and go back home. So I did and literally never thought of Demon's Souls again. Well, that all changed after 2011 and my introduction to the Dark Souls series, which I absolutely found to be life-changing. By 2019, rumor existed that Bluepoint Games, a recent acquisition by Sony, was working on a remake of some kind, and Demon's Souls was that remake in question. Well, by this point, the world was primed for the starting game for the Soulsborne cinematic universe of games to be popular again. And boy howdy, did it do way better this time. Bluepoint proved themselves to be a great studio for taking a game and really rehabilitating it, giving it a fresh coat of paint and a lot of quality of life updates to the game that had simply come along since 2009, which players expect. I sure as shit wouldn't trust Bluepoint to make their own fresh IP, but goddamn, can they do a remake proud. The world is gorgeous in its decay and destruction. Characters feel genuinely realized, and their movement is fluid and lifelike. The depth of field is unparalleled in this game and many others, and that is a lot considering this was a PS5 launch title. This game, above many others that have been released since, truly showcases the power that Sony was hoping for in their latest model of the PlayStation Home console, a feat other games with longer pedigrees and more flash have so far failed to do, sometimes miserably so. Yet this remake title, a fucking remake title, mind you, did exactly that. It made a world of awfulness and devastation at the hand of a power-mad tyrant feel realized, clean, and so much more than its original version. In some ways, it almost completely negates the need to experience the original. While many choices feel binary on the good or evil axis, they still feel that they have weight, and that your playstyle matters. Critics love this game, giving it many 4 out of 5 and 5 out of 5 star ratings, or 9 out of 10 reviews, and it still sits at 92 out of 100 on Metacritic. So yeah, really kind of a big deal. Again, I say that I give less than a shit about numbers and such, or often what critics say, but again, it is hard to ignore it when this many outlets and people are hailing this as an outstanding game. It sold rather well, too, with over 1 million copies by 2021, which may not seem like much compared to other games, but again, those sales for a remake of a niche title, it is a profound significance. This game is just good, much improved over the original, and still a heavyweight title now 4 years into this generation of games for its console. And it is still console exclusive, which is somewhat odd considering most other Souls games have migrated to PC. Not all, of course, we still don't have a PC translation of Bloodborne, but that is a different issue altogether. I think it remains so as Bluepoint is a division of Sony, not a division of From Software. And as we know, Sony is very protective and stingy with its copyrights and exclusivity. much like Microsoft, whom they jockey with constantly despite not needing to do so. So I'm not saying Sony is a company. Far from it. They're as much a bunch of bastards about how they do business and how they treat their employees and shit on anyone else. But I bring this up as to perhaps why the game did not sell more. If you can't get a PS5 or don't want one, then you aren't playing this game. Simple as that. Nothing you can do about it. And if you think that is some kind of badge of honor or mark against them or a statement of how you think your preferred gaming platform works, go fuck yourself. It's all bad and they're all bad for you. Don't stand for corporations, folks. They don't care about you. Anyway, why do I think this game is worth discussing? Mostly because it is technically impressive and a great representation of the abilities of the progress of gaming technology. And considering how long I've been playing, I've really seen how far we have come from less than 8-bit sprites to more pixels and a character's jiggling ass cheek than were available in an entire game 30 years earlier. It is also something of a time capsule game that was able to get a much better second life long after the games that came after it, using its formula, made it much more popular than this title could have ever been in 2009. So it has greater significance now in retrospect than it did for its original game. No offense to the original. Not in the story or state of gameplay, but in its overall existence as a title. And thus, I feel this is a title that deserves its own discussion, separate from the games it shares a home with, but unfortunately, without those games, we cannot really understand why this needed to be brought back. At the end of the day, the Demon's Souls remake is worth your time, for fans and newcomers alike. Fans will find exactly what they like and are looking for. Newcomers will at least, I hope, be able to understand why the games in this genre are the way they are. Somewhat simplified and very cleaned up with all the modern bells and whistles we expect as gamers to make it smoother for now, whether they stick with it or not. But still, it is a historic piece and a point of education. If you are unable to experience this title, I certainly understand, as there is little I can do about that. But I hope this episode can at least offer a bit of an explanation as to why this is significant to gaming history. And if you are not interested in these types of games, well, same thing. Nothing I can do about that. Just try not to shit on things that others like and you don't even ever have tried to experience. It's a bad look. Thank you for listening. Deleted Saves would like to thank Brad, Keith Gasper, Orden Wells, and Mass Llama for being patrons of the show. If you would like to become a patron of the show, please go to patreon.com and check out the Deleted Saves podcast. All donations go directly towards maintaining the show itself. Thank you.